Going live, Bubbles, Bubbles, we're going live. We are live. Hey, good morning. It is Saturday. It is 5 a.m. Well, this is the 5 a.m. Mester Scrum Show. 5 a.m. Mester Scrum Show. It is Saturday. What are you doing? And we are here to talk about Agile and Scrum. We're a little bit late today. This is episode 152. It's Saturday. It's 6:46. Though everybody tried to wake me up, but then I think my brain stopped working. And there's a cat. There's a kitty. Anyway, hope you're all doing well today. It is Saturday. We're doing our 5 a.m. Mester Scrum Show. And we talk about Scrum and Agile in a practical and tactical sense. I'm going to do some things tomorrow. I got to collect some data. I was debating what I was going to do it this morning. But I think I do need to do some research before we get to talk about it too much. And I'm going to talk about jobs. It's the end of the year, right? So I figure we should talk about career and things that Scrum and Agile might provide for people and how they might want to picture their future and what they'd like to do. So I'm going to work on that this weekend and hopefully put some content later this week and tomorrow. And then we'll just have some fun. I don't have fortune cookies yet. I'm trying to debate whether we're going to go to Chinatown, buy a bunch of big bag of fortune cookies and just be done with it. And we'll have some fun. So 2 things I want to talk about today. I want to talk about risk and how to track it with user stories, right, in your system. And then do a little bit about dot voting and some of the things about dot voting, what you got to make sure you bring up to your team. And dot voting is, we'll talk about that. So first off, I want to talk about risk. So I was having a debate the other day with another Agile coach after the PI planning session, and it's more their group, and they're talking about the overall company is trying to build a she got a mouse, a risk issue type in the system that they're tracking. I'm like, really? So I'm like, okay, fine. You're gonna get the whole organization to create a risk. How long is that gonna take, right? Because we're talking about one team that they had that was typically dependent on another team, and another organization hasn't had their PI planning session yet, and that they historically have been late or not meeting their stuff. So there's a risk associated with that. And we talked about dependencies being a risk in a previous episode. So this is a dependency on another team, and then there's a risk. So I said, well, why don't you just use a regular story, give it 1 point, and make it where you can put the title risk mitigation if you want, and just have the story where someone is assigned to go to the other team's PI planning event, sits there all day, and make sure their item gets put into their PI planning backlog. It's a risk mitigation plan, right? And they were debating on the format and how to do it. I said, when I asked them, so is your organization really handling risk? To get to whatever. You don't get the full answer, right? But then I'm like, well, the key in making risk go away is you got to assign it to somebody to make it go away, or it's not going to go away and it'll still be there forever. So, but what my thought is, though, I mean, a story format and a sprint is a perfect way of mitigating risk. I've been doing risk management for a while. So it's just like, so you got the risk. The risk is that the other team does not account for the work that you need them to do in order to be successful in your sprint. So maybe the risk mitigation strategy or plan, it's a plan, not a plan strategy, is that you want to have someone go attend their PI planning event and ensure that there is someone there to make sure that your work is taken care of. So you create a story, you sign it to the person on the team who's going to attend this PI planning meeting, and they sit there all, and get it done. I mean, and you take the story, whatever sprint they're in, that's the PI event for the other team. You take that story and put it in that sprint. So it's in that sprint, it's accounted for, the person's working there. And most of the time during these PI events, I mean, everybody has laptops. It's not like they have to sit there and do nothing all day. They have a laptop. They can sit there and listen in the background to what's going on. and just focus on where their story is. As the other team does most of their stuff, they just need to bring to the point where's the story that we need to connect. And they have their laptop. They can code, they can do testing, they can do whatever you want during the day. There's nothing that prevents them. We all have these laptops, so we're pretty mobile now, right? So it's just one of those things that's trying to debate him. He was debating like, well, we need to have the right format and it's need to be consistent. I'm like, when's the PI event? He says like it's the second week of January. So what's going to come first? You putting a story in the backlog to mitigate this risk by January 1st, or the entire organization change the way they have the system formatted and get it in place so it works the way you want, and for you to come up with a procedure and then dictate it and then find out what it's going to be. So what's going to happen first? From a practical, tactical perspective, that other one's going to take like 2 or 3 months. And I don't even know if the system's going to get updated for God knows how long for them to put a risk item in there. And personally, I think it just adds more complexity to the situation because someone wants to micromanage risk. I mean, you can use the story, you can put a tag or a label or whatever you want to call it and tie it with the word risk in it if you wanted to. Some people want to have the extra story. I just think it just adds extra process and complication. And I also think it also falls off a lot of the systems backlogs and the way they handle sprint boards and how we do filters and searches and things like that. But I also think they should give it a point because it's the person actually doing work and there's value to it, right? And someone will say, hey, it's not business value. That's okay. It's about how much effort and the velocity of work that the team needs to do. But that's my suggestion. My suggestion is just to make a user story with the risk on it, have someone assigned to the user story, and then in that user story, they attend the other person's PI planning event and make sure that their work is accounted for. That's just my solution. Simple, gets you there. You can have a grandiose plan later on. More power to you. So that's my thought on the risk, how to manage some risk from other teams when they're doing their PIs. So that's that. The other thing I'm going to do, and this is going to be a short show because it is Saturday. We're late. It's like 6:53. I don't know. Just Saturday. And I want to do some other things today. And the other thing I want to talk about is dot voting. And you would think dot voting is easy, but I've been in a situation where, and when you're an Agile coach, which is nice, sometimes you're not running the event. You're sitting on the side, you're observing what's going on, you're being the facilitator, scrum master, whoever's running the shows, alternate eyes on what's going on. And I notice a lot of people don't understand how dot voting works or when it's supposed to be done. I've seen people where they're very upset that their topic did not get discussed because whoever is facilitating the event didn't go through the rules of dot voting, nor the boundaries or the time boxing of the activity. And everybody does a little different dot voting, how you apply it. But I want to make sure it's really understand from a facilitation perspective in dot voting. Please make sure everybody understands what the rules are in the dot voting before you go in. And if you have a time constraint, and the reason why you're using dot voting is that you're like maybe you have a big giant brainstorm list of stuff to do, right? But you're not going to be able to get it all done. And they want to do it. So here's an example. Let's say your team was doing a retrospective, right? And in the retrospective, let me get this so I don't get the light. They wanted to do, some people said they wanted to talk automation. Some wanted to talk about lunch because they were hungry. Some wanted to talk about daily scrum, maybe job postings, pair programming. Okay. So your team said, these are the kind of things we want to talk about the retro or talk about at your session or wherever you're at. You tell them the rules. Everybody gets 2 to 3 votes, depending on how many people there is. Maybe it's just 2 votes. Maybe it's 3 if there's a lot each. There is one key thing in the dot voting. Make sure everybody understands at least one of their votes has to be something that's not that they wrote down, right? Or they're going to get all 3 in this, and that's just not fair. You want to say, hey, you can vote like 1 or 2 of your 3 votes. If you only have 2 votes, you only get 1 vote on yours, and you have to vote for somebody else's thing. If you have 3, maybe you vote 2. You can put 2 dots in one if you really like it. You can put all your dots in the one thing. Like if you really want to talk about daily scrum, you could put all your dots in there if you want. Or let's say you were really hungry and you wanted to put, you can put 1, 2, 3 dots under lunch because you want to talk about where you want to go to lunch at some point in time. So the idea is with the dot voting, but now again, you let them know that, and then you let them know that because let's say we only have 15 minutes to talk for this dot voting session, we're not going to get on all these items, right? So dot voting has 2 points. One, it helps set a priority, and one tells you what you're not going to talk about. Where I see the facilitation go a little raw is they don't tell anybody, or wrong. They don't tell everybody that we're not going to talk about all these topics because we're going to run out of time. We may get to them. Possible is there. If we have enough time, we'll hit them all. If we don't, we're not, right? And we're not going to expand the time, and it's a time boxed event. So the idea is like, looks like we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 votes for lunch. So I got all the list on here for my podcast folks. So first one I have is automation up here, lunch, daily scrum, job, talking, and pair programming. So those are the topics everybody wants to talk about. Lunch got the most votes. So lunch is going to be the first thing we talk about. Looks like job postings got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items on that. And that looks like it's going to be the second thing. And daily scrum and automation both got 2 votes. And what you do is you talk about the first one, the second one, and maybe you flip a coin, right? To figure out if you're going to talk about automation or scrum because it had the same amount of votes. And the pair programming thing, since it didn't get any votes, you may not talk about that at all. And you just like, hey, this one didn't get any votes. It'll be the last thing we talk about. And if we lose out on the 15-minute mark, then we won't talk about this one. So you talk about lunch, and then you go through dot voting. But I just want to explain, because I don't want to go into dot voting because you can do all kinds of different things you want to do. But I just want you to understand as a facilitator, I'm looking for my pen top, which I can't find. You just need to make sure everybody understands who's participating in the dot voting, that not every topic's going to be covered, and make sure they understand it, because I've seen a lot of faces that they're kind of disappointed that their item didn't get talked about. But you just have to explain to them, it's a time box. We just vote and everybody but you make sure everybody has a working agreement on how the time box will be oriented and done. And that's just how it works. So that's all I want to talk about today. And it's just one of those things. Just make sure you emphasize that with the team, because I've seen some dot voting that kind of failed lately. And I think that's it. And like I said, I'm going to do some stuff related to career development for Scrum Masters and Agile coaches this weekend. Hopefully post some stuff up. And we'll see how that goes. And I think we're done with that. Give us a thumbs up, right? We got the little globe. We'll find out what the kids got this year. We'll see if I got another thumbs up. Thumbs up for the show. And ring the little bell. Let everybody know so that when we do new postings, I'm going to make some more clips this weekend to get that done. And when I do put the clips out, you get little notices in the mail for the different little micro topics that we put up. So with that, happy scrumming. Enjoy your weekend. Hope you get to spend some time with family and friends this weekend and during this holiday break. And keep up the good work. And I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye. Bye.